just hear then that the James Beaton fan club have returned. The young man who was only promoted to the Lakeside field because of Alexander Merckx's Challenge Tour exploits. That secured him a spot at Alexandra Palace. And Beaton is making hay while the sun shines. He displayed real scoring prowess in his victory over Bradley Kirk, the all-English affair. He now faces the number 9 seed Thomas Junghans, who is one of the WDF nomads in the field. He tends to travel and play much of the tour, and this is a meeting between two players who are familiar with each other. They played at the Swiss Open and Helvetia Open back in May, a tournament most notable for the checkout of the year landed by Roger Schenner, the 130 against Brian Wybrow. But in all seriousness, this one could be a really good contest. So Dan McCarthy and Alex Moss of the Weekly Dartscast has come to join me for this one. How do you see it going?
Good afternoon, everyone. Yeah, I think this is a really hard one to call in this, the men's second round. You've got Thomas Junghans who's coming into this as a seed for the first time. He last year made his debut, won a couple of games to get to the last 16. James Beaton, we saw his debut over the weekend. So, yeah, for me, I can't really call a favourite in this one. But, yeah, shout out to Roger Schenner, that 130 checkout. We do our weekly Dartscast Awards at the end of every year. We do a checkout of the year award, and that 130, I think that's going to take some beating.
I'll be voting for it.
I think we all will be, because whoever wins the awards, we get them to send in an acceptance video. So I think Roger's one would be quite amusing.
39.
But you mentioned that the James Beaton fan club, obviously his debut at the weekend, the first round game against Bradley Kirk, a much different atmosphere that he experienced for that debut. Very boisterous, very noisy. This time round, this afternoon, it's a much more quieter affair. And the winner of our first game this afternoon, Carl Wilkinson, I've just been listening to his interviews backstage, and he said it's like a completely different venue. Like he played his debut on Friday night, had a big crowd in front of him. We're all singing Stand Up If You Love the Darts, but today a much quieter game for him. So yeah, it's different for these players that have played at the weekend to then come back and play in front of this atmosphere.
Slow start from Junghans, who had his best year in the WDF last year. Won multiple titles, the Cyprus Masters and Classic, Swedish Open and Riga Open. Not being quite as fruitful this year, but he is still at least having deep runs in tournaments.
Yeah, he's accumulating the points. He's got him here as a seed for the first time. James Beaton not going to take the 170 in this opening leg. Wouldn't have had to if he'd have got the 2 treble 20s, because Thomas Junghans far back on 247.
Last 170 that we saw on the Lakeside stage was in last year's final, Andy Barton's against Chris Landman.
85, James Beaton, 140.
Yeah, I don't think there was many things that Andy Barton's was missing last year. A very consistent and impressive Lakeside campaign for him that ended up with him walking away with that title.
Could look at the bullseye here.
58.
25 left to data, but Junghans decided to go for the 18s. May not matter. We saw in Beaton's win over Bradley Kirk, the first leg was very scruffy in terms of doubles.
40.
This one's got potential to be the same.
Yeah, so 104 for Junghans. Starts on the 18s. That's 50 left. 1 dart at tops for a break. And gets it. It was a scrappy leg, but they all count exactly the same. 21 darts, but he has broken James Beaton in this opening leg. And you'll see Junghans there on his shirt. He's got the Mission logo at the weekend. He was announced as one of their new signings as part of Team Mission. Came to visit the HQ and the studio in Bolton a couple of days earlier. So he's been in the UK for a little while and enjoying himself. I've had the pleasure of meeting him a couple of times, and
140.
he certainly loves his Swiss chocolate. He's been walking into the Lakeside each day with bags and bags of chocolate, sharing them round, and yeah, I'm sure he'll be hoping to have a few celebratory chocolates in an hour's time if he can get the win here.
91.
Well, Andrew Sinclair very kindly has given one to me.
That's very nice of you, Andrew. I'll be getting my one off him after this.
140.
Good response though for Beaton. Back-to-back 140s. Disappointing to lose that opening leg against the throw, having had the first chance at a double, but yeah, this is a good response.
Did mention at the top of the game that Junghans plays a lot of the WDF Tour. Beaton just plays a lot of darts full stop, whether it's
140.
WDF, Challenge Tour, Development Tour. Anywhere he can find a dartboard, he'll go and have a chuck, and he very nearly secured his Lakeside place for next year's tournament at the Irish Open, but lost the last leg decider to Marco Cantella.
81.
What a response this has been. Double 12 for an 11 darter. Double 6.
69. Troubleshooting bar 71.
Two more missed doubles for Beaton, so Junghans. He stole that opening leg. 18 for tops. Hit it in the first leg.
31.
Goes high this time round.
Troubleshooting bar 12.
An opportunity that Beaton maybe didn't think he'd get.
Let's get shoulder to
So he takes out double 6.
Third leg is James to throw
The
first.
leg he deserved to win because the scoring was sensational. Break straight back, so nothing wrong with the mental fortitude in the early stages.
No, very good response there from James Beaton, and you mentioned he plays a lot of darts, the WDF, the Challenge Tour, Development Tour. Also played Q School at the start of this year and very close to getting his tour card, finishing 12th on that UK Order of Merit. The top 10 ended up getting tour cards, so he missed out on legs difference in the end. Goal differential, as me and Burton call it on the weekly darts cast, but he was very close, and after 2 of the days he had 0 points on the board. Got to a quarter final, got to a last 16, and losing 6-0 to Alex Spellman on that final day. If he'd have beaten him, that could have been him with a tour card, but just shows he's heading in the right direction, because Q School, we know, is such a hard tournament to go into, so to be that close, that'll give him some confidence going into this year, and it's ending with this trip to the Lakeside.
And especially at just 21 years old as well. There aren't many other players of a similar age playing at a high standard.
100.
Yeah, I think his best run on the Development Tour this year was a semi-final, quarter-final on the Challenge Tour, so wherever he's going, he's making deep runs, and to get to the Lakeside, yeah, he was a late call-up, but put himself in that position to get the call-up and being higher up in the rankings. Looking at a 170 again here.
57. Troubleshooting bar 140.
Goes trebleless, so Junghans, outside chance, finds the treble. Is he going to stay there? He tried to get another treble, and he busts the score. That is a disaster for Junghans.
Troubleshooting bar 130.
Well, I think he took that last dart for granted, because you could see him pick the pace up thinking it was just going to float into a single 20.
I mean, sometimes in that situation we see players aim for the double top and be overcautious and sometimes put it out the board, but let's see if he can get it this time. Well, he's not going to bust his score now, but he's going to give Beaton 3 darts at double 10 to take the lead in this first set. And he takes that opportunity with the first dart. That's back-to-back legs for Beaton.
I think James Beaton is a lucky boy.
41.
I've seen 140 taken a couple of the more unusual routes. I've seen Shane McGurk take it on the Rob Cross route, 2 treble 18 for double 16. And then Hannah Schneer with treble 20, 2 tops.
Yeah, that was a great game yesterday. Probably one of the games of the tournament so far. Just a shame it was first to 2 sets, best of 3, because we could have certainly watched that over a longer format. Both players putting on a good performance yesterday. And Kadar with that 164, which was pretty special to see.
140.
Another 140 for Beaton.
140.
One there for Junghans. You want to take this first set all the way. Coming downstairs.
130.
Picking off another treble to get down to that finish first after 9 darts.
One of the most difficult finishes though. 139.
60. James Unicorn, 130.
Strike a significant blow.
This for the set. Needed to be perfect. Now be looking for a treble 20 to leave himself tops.
59. Thomas Unicorn, 120.
Great dart. Double top for Thomas Junghans.
80. James Unicorn, 80.
Just above the wire. That would have been his second ton plus finish of this match already. But Beaton for the opening set. Comes across the oche to find another single 20. Comes even further away for tops.
That's been shown in the first set.
It's the first set to James Beaton. Lost the opening leg after missing doubles, but had a little bit of fortune there with the 140 bust from Junghans, but he's made the most of it.
Second set, first leg. It's Thomas that flew first. Game on.
It looked like he came across to the right hand side to use the right side of the tops bed, but it just careered over the top of the 2 previous darts.
57.
Carl Wilkinson is the next challenge for the winner here after his straight sets win over Benjamin Pratnama.
58.
Despite having a lower average than the Slovenian, set play is about doing the right things at the right time.
Yes, an open quarter of the draw, I'd say. At the top of it, you've got the 2 Belgian players there, Francois Schweyen and Brian Roman. You'd probably say Roman is going to be the favourite in that quarter to get through to the semi-finals on Saturday, but these 2 players up on the stage here, they'll be fancying their chances of making that final weekend, especially with a few wins under their belts, which they can pick up here over the next few days. And it could be James Beaton with more darts like that.
No question that Beaton is a real talent, but like a lot of players his age, it's about finding consistency. He's one of those players where you're not particularly surprised either way if he averages 100 or 75.
Yeah, it can be very up and down, and that is the difference between the elite level players that are producing those big averages week in, week out. And yeah, we know there's so many players out there that can produce those levels. It's just doing it more often. Junghans having a think here to leave himself a finish.
95.
And that's not the way to do it.
Obviously, he wasn't thinking.
But he won't be punished if Beaton can't leave himself handy.
56.
Chose not to persist on the 20s, even though he could have left 160, which is a theoretically much easier finish than 164.
81. James Unicorn, 164.
That last start there for Junghans could make a difference. It could end up being a shot at the ball. If he'd have
64.
hit a single 20 with that last start, he would have had a shot on the outer ring. So it will be the ball for this opening leg.
Has a glance at James's score, knows he has to go for it.
And he gets it.
Pins it right in the middle.
Second leg is James to throw first.
That was almost like a, right, look what I've got left, I'm going to go and hit it now. And he's got it. 87 finish for Thomas Junghans for that opening leg.
45.
Junghans, 47 years old, he's been around the game for a long time. He's played in other big tournaments as well, the PDC World Cup of Darts representing Switzerland. He made his Lakeside debut last year. Probably one of his most standout runs was the semi-finals of the World Masters back in 2015, and you look at the players that he beat on the way to get into the semi-finals, your Wesley Harms, Danny Noppert, Jamie Hughes. These players back then were very big players in the BDO and ended up losing out to Glenn Durrant, the BDO #1 at the time, in the semi-finals, but that was really the first time we've heard of Thomas Junghans, and he knows how to make these big runs in big tournaments. He proved it there. Good darts there from Junghans, and that bullseye finish as well in the last leg. Junghans used to be a soft tip player as well. That's when he started playing darts. He moved into steel tip, but soft tip. A lot of it is on the bullseye.
140.
So he would have been confident of pinning that ball.
Yeah, there's always two stereotypes about soft tip players. They use the bullseye a lot and they can't count.
Well, you could argue we've seen both of that on display here.
57.
Junghans, he's left a 1.68. I think it was a 1.62 earlier as well. Back upstairs now for the 20s.
46.
Treble to left tops. But he's going to come back. Junghans not on a finish. But he can apply some pressure.
James Regar, 80.
Beaton now to get us back on level terms in this set. Again, it's going to be that 80 finish. Took it out a moment ago. Had to do some moving around the oche.
40.
But
James
can't pin the
Regar,
tops.
86.
Elected not to move there.
Could it be the bullseye again?
61.
Just
James
outside.
Regar, 40.
Beaton comes back to the board with 3 darts at tops.
Double 10.
Level score. Thomas Regar, 25.
This for a 2-0 lead in the set. Not a bad guide. And he
And
pins
let's
it.
make sure the second line.
Junghans with a 2-0 lead in this second set, now throwing to level up the match, and we saw a little bit of the Richie Bonnett's in that last start from James Beeton, lifting his back leg. Richie, someone that's been up on that stage before, he knows what it's all about. He's won the World Championship. But Thomas Junghans starting to warm to the task now. I think he lost that opening set. A few things didn't go his way. Obviously the 140 busting that all could have played on his mind, but he's responded well here, got the opening 2 legs. Had a little bit of fortune as well with those missed doubles from James Beaton, but you want to get this leg 1, go off the stage. We're well in the game at 1-1, but these aren't the darts he's looking for. It's good grouping, just not where he wants it.
22.
Margins are so fine in darts. Combined 3 millimetres away from a 180.
Certainly was, and Beaton
140.
making him pay the price for that visit of 22 of a 140. He's finding his range again, Junghans.
180.
With a maximum there. That's how you put a visit of 22 behind you.
45.
Now I'll be looking to get this leg one within the next 2 visits.
133.
Another good score there. Gets him down to an 80 finish.
39.
Well, Beaton there looking for the ball with 25.
Thomas, you require 80.
Would have left the 167, but the dart bouncing out means that Junghans will have 6 darts to get this 80 done.
There it
is, a clean sweep in the second set for Thomas. Welcome back to Lakeside, where Thomas Junghans took control of that second set. A lovely ball finish on 87, followed by scores of 25 and 80. Ensured that he won all 3 legs. James Beaton only having darts in the second, darts at double in the second leg of that second set. So the momentum may be with Junghans. So did the break come at the wrong time? We are about to find out as Marco Meyer gets ready to shout game on. But Alex Moss, that was a good response from Thomas Junghans after a bit of a ropey opening set, obviously with the bus score in there.
Yeah, just
First set,
Thomas
first leg,
Junghans
his team should throw
would have wanted
first.
there, getting back on level terms, and for James Beaton as well. This is a longer format playing in the second round, but his first round game won the first set, lost the second set 3-0 to Bradley Kirk before getting back and winning 3-1 to get himself over the line. So he's had that experience of having a good start and being pegged back and then getting over the line in the end. But we are going to play down to a finish now, the next 2, possibly 3 sets to determine who is going to play Carl Wilkinson in that third round.
96.
Finds the treble with his last dart. We talked about it earlier, the atmosphere very much different for James Beaton compared to his first round game, and in his first round I'm sure he would have been thriving on the crowd, would have been revving him up, but he's going to have to do that mostly by himself today. And this is much better. All 3 trebles for the 180. And a leg that looked to be in the balance really after the opening couple of visits. Beaton's taken firm control, and with this being on his throw as well, wouldn't have wanted to have Junghans run away with it after getting that second set and being broken straight away here.
Good rescue from Beaton, because the first dart is a little bit inconsistent. Either plum treble 20 or he's dragging quite a few of them into the 5 segment.
Yeah, rescues it well, gets himself down to a finish under a ton.
98.
If he had a bit of treble 20 there, he might have decided to split it, but this is going to be double 12.
74.
Well, we've had a miscount there. We've had everything in this game so far.
Well, was it a miscount or was it just a horrendous dart? Because you could see him smile a bit sheepishly as he walked back and he gestured with his hand.
24.
The distance he was away from the target. Make sure you look at double 12, James.
Yeah, we'll have to ask him
60.
after the game about that dart, but he seems to have lost his composure a little bit there in that last visit. Junghans to steal it, double 10.
40.
So Beaton is reprieved here.
James Regard 15.
Just taking a bit of time. A few options here. He's gone for 3 double 6.
And that's been shown in the first line. James Beeton, second line is Thomas through first. Game on.
Well, James Beaton has stopped the rot after Thomas won 3 legs on the bounce.
Yeah, it's the first leg on the board, but
16.
it was a leg that had the best and the worst. I guess he had a maximum in there, but also some darts he'd like to have thrown again at the double, but he does get over the line, does get that opening leg. And at the end of the day, it doesn't matter if it's 9 darts or 99 darts, they all count the same.
$131.
Nice visit there from Junghans. You're not going to see too much in the way of emotion from him. Keeps a pretty strong poker face up there.
96.
He's been around the venue most days since the tournament started. As I mentioned, he's come to the UK early, got to the Lakeside at the weekend,
140.
soaked up the atmosphere over the weekend and yesterday. Yeah, I spoke to him earlier. He was looking forward to getting back up there and getting his campaign underway.
119. Top shooting corner, 170.
Both players have been left on the big fish a few times in this match.
Yeah, they've been teasing it. I don't think there's been too many times where they've left it and their spin on the finish, so they might not have gone for it. But that's a great setup there from Junghans. Leaves himself 36 after 12 darts.
83.
Quality
Top
shooting
shooting corner, 36.
is to level up the set.
James shooting corner with 103.
For a break of throw. Double 12. He's had problems here before.
79.
Does so again.
Top shooting corner, 80.
Grimace on his face, says everything.
Yeah, that was a chance for 2-0. This double 9 for Junghans to level it up.
9.
Goes inside with the last start. Missed opportunities for Junghans. James Beaton
James shooting corner, 24.
for a 2-0 lead and to throw for the third set. One dart left at double 6.
He has been shown in the second line. James Beeton.
And that's rescued him a few times in this match. Double 6.
Yeah, he elected to go for that double 6 in the last leg when he was on 15. Some players will see go 7 double 4, but double 6 seems to be a favourite of his.
Third leg is James through first. Game on.
Has a little smile to himself. Maybe something in the crowd was humouring him there.
93.
I am fascinated by the mechanics of the Beaton throw. There's a long downwards prod that reminds me of Andy Hamilton. There's a crane of the neck. A lot going on.
There is, and important to get it right as well, because if one part of it fails, then that's going to have a knock-on effect on the whole throw. So it's yeah, when he gets it right, I mean, he's had a few maximums. Could be another one here.
180.
That's how to do it. Little nod in the background. Looking to do to Junghans what he did to him in the last set, and that is make a clean sweep of it, 3-0.
.140 would leave a finish. 180 would leave a far better one. Can you fill it up, Thomas?
140. James shooting corner,
Bare
147.
minimum that was required with Beaton on 147.
But he has left that 170, and this time it will be having a go at it with his opponent on a finish.
47. Thomas Unicorn, 170.
There's the first part. Can he get another one in there? Yes, he can. Bullseye for the 170.
130.
Goes outside.
James Unicorn, 100.
If you're going to miss, though, a single 18 to leave yourself 32, he's not going to have to burn a dart if he comes back to the board. And he might not. This is double 10 for the third set.
90.
Goes inside.
Thomas
So
Unicorn, 32.
Junghans 3 darts here.
Double 16 to keep the set alive.
That's King Shoulder, the third line.
There it is.
Thomas
Been
Unicorn.
trading legs in threes, but that breaks the little pattern.
4 targets, Thomas to throw first. Game on.
That was a break of throw, so Junghans with the darts in this fourth leg. If he can hold throw here, we will go all the way. And that will be
140.
easily the most important leg of the match. We're either going to be 2-1 to Beaton or 2-1 to Junghans. And the winner of it will be one set away from a place in the last 16.
91.
Junghans, a Swiss international. You brought up the Swiss Open earlier, and this game is 130 being the best free darts of that tournament. I've got to mention Brian Wybrow, the manager of Connor Scott, who's played here at the Lakeside. He's been in touch and said that his 180 in that match was the best free darts.
We've got to mention that, or did he tell you to mention that?
He told me to mention that, or I can never interview Connor again, so I've had to follow his instructions there. Connor Scott, a player that did qualify for the Lakeside this year, won the Denmark Open. He was very close to coming to the Lakeside. I know it was a decision that he was umming and ahhing about whether he wanted to come to Lakeside or come to Ali Pali. Felt like he had unfinished business, really. Made his debut here a couple of years ago, was one of the favourites. He was a very new tour card holder back then, was allowed to play in the Lakeside. Went out in the first round to Mr. Intensity, Sean Burt, and yeah, got back to the Lakeside, but deciding to go to Ali Pali in a few weeks' time. And look at the year that he's had. He's going to go there with a lot of confidence behind him and a chance to break into that world's top 64.
41.
Did he tell you to say all that as well?
I'm just reading off my phone. He's just giving me all this info. But this is good from Beaton. Another maximum.
180. Thomas Unicorn, 135.
And all of a sudden, when it looked like we were going all the way, he's going to get a chance to get this set done in this leg.
97.
90 required for Beaton.
James Unicorn, 90.
Few possible routes he can go here.
Bullseye.
65.
Oh, that's a set dart miss.
Well,
Scoring from
Beaton
Beaton has been
38.
fantastic in this third set. Finishing not so much. Junghans chooses to split. It's a wise choice from a wily old player.
Thomas Unicorn. Fifth flag is James to throw first. Game on.
Here we go, then we are going all the way in this third set. Beaton with the darts, he's got the advantage. Junghans, he's won the last two legs.
95.
Beaton, he had that set dart, couldn't have got much closer on the bullseye. Clipped the wire.
81. 85.
Focus there on the eyes of Junghans. Did not blink during that visit. All focus on the treble 20. Gets it with his last start. Beaton though. Another treble would get him down to a finish first. Junghans, he's going to need to fill up the treble. Can he find another one?
100.
He can't, so Beaton with a slight advantage after 9 darts each. But that treble-less visit just opening the door for Junghans. If he can put a couple of big trebles on the board, he's going to need one to get himself down to a finish.
43.
And he can't find it.
James Unicorn 147.
The door was opened and he walked into the door frame. 147 for Beaton. Seeking to tidy up, give him a better chance.
57.
It's not a great setup. Again, it leaves the 90, so again, you could have to end it on the bullseye.
45.
Thomas Junghans, the trebles have just
James Unicorn
dried up
90.
in the last couple of visits, and he's left the 147 that Beaton just had a go at. It could have been a lot smaller for him if he'd have picked off 1 or 2 more trebles. That's a great first start, double 15.
Let's give Sean the third set.
Cleanish
James
alone.
Beaton.
90 and 2 darts for James Beaton.
First
Takes,
set, first line. It's Thomas the through first. Game on.
chucks his darts on the table. You're going to need to pick them up in a moment because you need another set.
Big test for Beaton because
57.
he won't be used to playing matches of this length, especially if we go to a 5th set.
Yeah, Junghans, he's got a little bit of experience of playing these longer games at the Lakeside last year. Was a 3-1 winner against Kai Fan Lung in the second round. The third round lost a great game with Chris Lamb and 3-2. Lamb and going on to get to the final against Andy Bartons.
100.
It's a game at the start we said we weren't sure who was going to win. There wasn't really a clear favourite. Another maximum for James Beaton.
5-180s.
When he gets that first start, it just looks so inviting for 2 more to follow. And Junghans
140.
most returned the favour with a maximum of 140.
Thomas Unicorn 144.
Doesn't back up the maximum with a big score, so Junghans looking at 2 treble 18s for double 18 for a 144.
Let's give Sean the first line. Thomas Unicorn.
Great finish from TJ.
Second line is James the through first. Game on.
The man formerly known as the Silent Assassin, killing off that 144.
60.
Earning respect from Beaton along the way. Nice fist bump offered.
That's a good finish there from
58.
Junghans. Those last couple of visits, the 140, then the 144.
$57. 80.
Loses a dart there, only scores 80. Slight lead after 6 darts, but Beaton right back in the treble now. Has to move across.
112. $60. 58.
Scores drying up a little bit for both players. 3-3 would leave 170.
95.
Not quite, but a key part of the leg here. Because Beaton back in the treble will get down to a finish.
99.
It is a 1-2-7, but Junghans, a couple of trebles here. 180 would be perfect for him, but a couple of trebles will get him down to a very manageable finish.
58.
Leaves the
James
50.
Unicorn 127.
Beaton gets the first go.
Treble 19.
77. Thomas
Well
Unicorn
tidied up.
150.
Thomas Junghans just landed an enormous checkout with a 144. Can he go better by 6 points? Has to stay there, surely. No, he opted to switch.
130.
And then, annoyingly for him, he goes and nails the second treble 20.
Yeah, that's got to be frustrating. But that is not what James Beaton wanted. Goes outside the board, 1 dart at double 18.
32.
And he says,
Thomas Unicorn 12.
what are you doing to himself?
I think we're all thinking that.
And let's give show the second part. Thomas Unicorn. Third leg is Thomas through first. Game on.
A game that has swung back and forth. It is Junghans now throwing for the set and to take us all the way to that 5th set.
$132.
That's a good start to doing that.
Half a dozen 180s for James Beaton.
Yeah, the maximum's flying in for James Beaton this afternoon. That's just the response he would have wanted after his last visit to the board, that 50 checkout. Would have been very frustrating how that ended up, but a 180.
60.
You don't see many players going for 14, double 18 or 50. It's either the 10s or the 18s. I kind of get aiming towards the double though, because if you do hit double 14, you just got to go underneath for double 11.
Yeah, I can't say I've seen someone go double 14, double 11. I might have to try that myself, because usually I'll just go straight for the ball and miss. James Beaton is not missing that treble 20, is he? 2 180s in this leg, and it is against the Junghans throw. So a chance to break, and
60.
if he can then hold,
James Unicorn
all
81.
the pressure is going to be on Thomas Junghans.
25 and Bull. Now decides to
41.
go the
Thomas
17
Unicorn
route.
150.
You don't want to give Thomas Junghans too many chances with these long ranges.
$41. James Unicorn 40.
Tops for Beaton.
And that's the show of the work. James Beaton.
He has got
Fourth
the
leg
throw.
is James through first. Game on.
Almost surprised himself there when he saw that he was thrown first, but a great leg against the darts. Now looking to hold.
85.
It was a big leg in the third set going all the way. If we go all the way here, it's either James Beaton through to that third round, or we are going all the way and Thomas Junghans is keeping his place in the tournament.
57.
Decent weight to those darts, but just lost the line as he gesticulated to then.
Junghans drifted into that triple one as well.
43.
Doesn't make the most of that poor visit from Beaton.
58.
Back comes Junghans with a maximum.
180.
That's how you punish your opponent.
There's been fewer and further between for the Swiss, just the second 180.
46.
It could be the best timed one.
Yeah, just the right time for Junghans. Although that was not perfect timing for that single one. Recovers it well with a treble 20.
80.
To leave himself the 141. Beaten now. Going down to the 19s. Won't leave himself a finish.
58. Thomas Unicorn, 141.
So after a 13 darter from Beaton in the last leg, this is the chance for Thomas Junghans that he would have wanted.
105. 81. Thomas Unicorn, 36.
Beaton going all over the board, trying to get something going. But Thomas Junghans hits back to make it 2 sets apiece.
Fifth and final set, first half.
Going all the way.
Teams that flew first. Game on.
Yeah, we are going all the way. James Beaton 1-0 up. Thomas Junghans levelling it up at 1-1. James Beaton regaining that lead.
58.
Thomas Junghans taking that 4th set. It does mean we go all the way in this second round tie. And even after all we've watched so far, we've seen the brilliance of James Beaton, some great legs in there, the 180s. And we've also seen some great stuff from Thomas Junghans, that 144, the highlight. You really couldn't call which way this one's going to go.
97. 100. 84.
Hated that last dart.
121.
Good visit there from Junghans. Treble with the first, goes astray with a second, but back in that treble with the third dart.
82.
And all about the setup now for TJ. What he'd give for a 180 now. Not going to happen. But again, another 2 treble visit. And he's put himself in a great position here to break the Beaton throw at the start of this final set.
60.
Well, I think Thomas Junghans is trading all the Swiss chocolate he's got his hands on to take this 80 out.
I'll certainly take some. It's tops he wants though for a break.
60.
Drags it low.
Team shooting card 120. Total shooting card 20.
Threw the last out away very quickly.
And
Thomas Junghans steals a march. What a time to get a break of throw.
First. Game on.
Yeah, put together some big scores in that last leg. The 121, the 140, putting the pressure on Beaton, who couldn't take that 120 finish. Junghans pinning the double 10.
58.
But first visit without a treble. An early opening for James Beaton. He profits on that opening score of 58 with a ton.
Eighth 180 perhaps.
140.
Not quite. This has been a good response from Beaton. Not too disheartened by the break of throw, clearly.
Yeah, it's a game that both players will have felt very
43.
comfortable, like they were heading for victory, and then at times feeling like they're struggling and that the game's drifting away from them. And this happened already in this set. Junghans taking the opening leg, breaking the throw, but a great response
97.
from the 21-year-old Beats, who leaves the finish after 9 darts. And Junghans will need at least 2 trebles to join him.
140. Team shooting card 164. Shooting card
Oh, that was a
161.
mess. A really bad time to go wayward.
Both players just drifting away from the segments they're aiming for.
44. Team shooting card 122.
Not a bad guide, treble 18 for the ball. Just the other side of the wire.
54.
So Junghans here,
117.
a 117 for a 2-0 lead. Starts on the 19s, will work his way back up. Finds the treble 20, it's double 19 for a 117.
Let's give shoulder the second leg.
That's a 2-0 lead for Thomas Junghans. Another ton plus finish. An interesting route there. We don't often see players starting on the 19s there.
180.
Well, that 117 could be monstrous, but James Beaton roars back.
Yeah, that maximum just saying, I'm not done yet.
180.
Thomas Junghans concurs. He's not done.
Both players trading maximums.
81.
Beaton 2-0 down in this deciding set, but he has the throw in this leg. If he goes all the way, it will have the throw in the decider.
100.
He's got to win all of the remaining 3 legs. Junghans just needing one more to book his spot in the last 16 for a second consecutive year here at the Lakeside.
100. Team shooting card 140.
Needs the treble 20.
60. Thomas, you require 164.
This is for the match.
Not going to get a go. We have seen Thomas pin the bullseye already. You're not going to get particularly close.
78. James, you require 80.
A finish that James Beaton has already taken out in this match. He needs it here to stay in the tournament. Another single. Oh, he goes outside.
40. Thomas,
Is
you
that going to be it for James
86.
Beaton on his Lakeside debut?
Well, there's the lack of consistency that we highlighted from James. Match dart miss for Thomas.
54.
2 of them.
James, you require 40.
A reprieve for James Beaton. Junghans, after hitting that treble 18 with his first dart, would have been a big favourite to get the job done. Misses the 2 darts at double 16, so it's tops to keep this match alive. 1 dart left.
20.
He goes low.
Thomas, you require 32.
A look of resignation on Beaton's face. Will experience triumph. Good luck getting that through.
16.
Yeah, he really wasn't sure which way to move across the hockey there, Thomas Junghans. That second dart really
James, you
did
require
block
20.
the target, and once again, Beaton surviving those match darts. Double 10. Now double 5. Again, 1 more dart left,
15.
and he can't
Thomas, you
find
require 60.
the double, so this is for the match.
Surely Thomas has to step
Shot.
up, and he does.
Let's
And
Thomas,
that was a cracking game.